Hello everyone, my name is Rolando Jr. Lejano Lario, taking up Bachelor in Elementary Education Generalist. So in this video, I will present to you the attributes of learning and motor learning. Now, let us know the attributes of learning. But before we proceed to its attribute, let us first learn the meaning of learning. Learning implies a change in a person, a change in his method of performing a skill, practicing a habit, gaining ability in performance, or changing an attitude toward a particular thing. So learning is what you learn based on your experiences. It is the act of or experience of one that learns. It is also knowledge or skill acquired by instruction. So the first attribute is community-centered. What is community-centered? Community-centered explicitly promote norms and expectations that encourage critical inquiry and collaboration. So that's why learning is effective because of its attribute. Second is the learner-centered. We already know that learner-centered is very necessary nowadays to have in the learning process. Learner-centered learning moves students from passive receivers of information to active participants in their own discovery process. What students learn, how they learn it, and how their learning is assessed are all driven by each individual student's needs and abilities. Third is the knowledge-centered. A knowledge-centered learning environment introduces knowledge, facts, ideas, concepts, and principles in a timely manner. When the need to do is so naturally arises, or when learners see a need. It is also a very important attribute of learning because it is centered or knowledge where learning is focused. The fourth attribute is that learning is the process of acquiring information. So in this process, learners acquires information through learning it, practicing and also assimilating, acquiring new skill. There are also other attributes of learning. It is the change. It includes either an increase or a decrease in the strength of behavior. For example, you can learn to play a piano louder or softer, faster and slower. Another attribute is the experience. It is also the attributes of learning. Experience depends on our interaction with the environment. Sometimes experiences do not lead to the lasting changes in behavior. And last is the learning requires interaction. That is that learner needs to encode the learning herself or himself, rather than simply receive what others have encoded. He or she needs to verbalize when watching, hearing, or performing new tasks. We are done with some attributes of learning. Now let's proceed to the attributes of motor learning. But before that, let us know first the definition of motor learning. Motor learning is the process of acquiring a skill by which the learner, through practice and assimilation, refines and makes automatically desired movement. It is also defining an internal neurologic process that results in the ability to produce a new motor task and a set of internal processes associated with practice and experiences, leading to relatively permanent changes in the capability for skill behavior. So, motor learning is when you learn something like dancing, singing, as well as sports like badminton, volleyball, and other motor skills that you acquire through practice and assimilation. By practicing and assimilating a specific skill, you can learn effectively. So one of the attributes of motor learning is consistency or stability. Contain higher level of performance over time. Stability of movement. Second is attention. It is the amount of conscious attention required to perform a motor skill decrease significantly with practice, like dribbling a ball while looking at the defense. The third is effort. Effort means energy being used while performing a task. So less experience requires more effort and energy. So like for example, learning to swim. So in acquiring motor skills in practicing, we really need to make an effort so that we can effectively learn any skills or movement to have a better result. Next is persistence. Practice makes perfect. Durability, practicing enough so it becomes natural. For example, riding a bicycle. Next is the adaptability. the ability to adjust to a new environment while using your natural skills. Like for example, going to tennis, to ping pong. Next is the performance improvement. Performance improvement is the most common indicator of learning. Eliminating movement outcomes and focusing on basic movements helps avoid bad habits. Like for example, juggling. Next is the procedural learning. It is the process of acquiring a skill at a task, particularly a task that eventually can be performed automatically. Like for example, without attention, as opposed to acquiring a declarative memory or factual knowledge about it. The last attribute of motor learning is the feedback and knowledge of result. Knowledge of result refers to how successfully a skill is performed. It is always external feedback may come from sources such as coach, spectators, and teammates. And that are the attributes of learning and motor learning. And that will be all. Thank you. Goodbye.